Hello everybody. In this lesson we are going to look at there is and there are. First, let's look at some example sentences. Number 1. There is a good restaurant nearby. Number 2. There are some clouds moving closer. Number 3. Are there any foreigners in your town? And number 4. There isn't any food in the house. So as you can see, sometimes we use there is and sometimes we use there are, and we're going to look at what phrase or construction to use and how to use it. So first, let's look at count words that are singular. Now, if it's a count word, that means you can count on your fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, and if it's singular, just one. So a dog, a store, a cafe, a book, an idea. That's just one thing. So if it's one thing, that means it's singular. Now, if you want to make a question, then you would say, is there a park nearby? Is there a park nearby? If you want to answer affirmative, right, then you would say, yes, there is a park nearby. And if it's negative, you want to say something in the negative, there is not a park nearby. Now, we usually don't say is not. Usually we contract it and we just say isn't. So there isn't a park nearby. So this is if it's singular. Now notice singular, just one. If there's only one, then we use there is. Okay, so now let's look at count plural. So now we have count plural. So that means you can count more than one, and when something is plural, it has an S, right? So we have bars, shops, let's get that, trees, students, houses, etc. So if you're going to make a question, then you would say, are there? Make it plural, and because it's a question, any. Are there any parks nearby? So we use any for plurals. So if it's affirmative, yes, there are some parks nearby. So we use some. And negative, no, there aren't any parks nearby. So if it's negative, we use any. Now we have one more. We have what's called non-count. Now non-count means you can't count it. Like it would be hard to count with your fingers, right? So non-count would be things like money, juice, time, light, sugar, right? So this, you can't really count it. So that's why it's non-count. So let's say we do juice. Usually all liquids are non-count. So for a question, we have to go back to is there. But now is there any? So non-count, we use is there and we use any. Is there any juice? Now affirmative, you would say, there is some juice. So you use some for affirmative. And negative, you would say there isn't any juice. So we use there is for non-count. So I think you guys got it, but let's go ahead and do just a few problems. Now you can pause if you want. You can pause and try to do this on your own. What we want to do is we want to use there is and are, right? So we're going to use there is and are to complete the sentences. Now the first one we have is a question. So how would we make this? Food, let's see, food, that is non-count. So if it's non-count, is there any food in the house? Okay, next one. Money. Money on the table. So money is non-count. So it would be there is some money on the table. Because it's affirmative, so we use some. So now we have plural, buses, negative. So you would say there aren't any buses at night. Okay, we have another one. Cafes, that's plural. Question form. Are there any cafes near the station? Shops. Shops. You would say there are some shops that are open early. I'm sorry, there are some shops that open early. And the last one, negative. T. Now T is non-count. So there isn't any T in the pot. So because it's negative, we have to use any. And that's it. So that's a brief overview of how to use there is and there are. Thanks for listening.